Coaches like to have everything right there in front of them, and all of a sudden, the Tim Tebow circus that occasionally came to town, that scared teams away. Sure. Tim Tebow still doesn't have a job and probably never will in the NFL, unfortunately. And I think when people, coaches, general managers, they see what went on yesterday, and it's like, I think it's cool. We're in this business now. I thought it was great. And I made the remark, live from Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, it's Johnny Manziel's Pro Day, sponsored by Bradford White Water Heaters or someone else.
Or by Nike.
By Nike. Yeah. But that's where it's going. Now, hey, we make fun of it, but that's where it's going. And coaches, they don't like that. I'm telling you. They don't. There may be some that like the sizzle, but very few want to have that circus atmosphere around their quarterback. The NFL is tough enough. As I said yesterday, it is a man's game. And all of a sudden you get all these distractions. I think it's a negative when people evaluate Johnny. Now, to get to the football side, I thought he had a tremendous workout. And the questions that I had were answered. And his mechanics were awful when I looked at him on tape. And I showed him on all the ESPN platforms yesterday the video of those problems so you could see what was wrong with some of his mechanics. And I wanted to watch that very closely yesterday at his pro day. And he did an outstanding job of refining his mechanics. I give some love to George Whitfield. In those 90 days since since the Duke game and the Chick-fil-A Bowl, he has gotten better. He's gotten better. The mechanics were excellent. Standing that back leg, snapping the hips, driving the football. The ball had energy. He brings energy. I like what I saw yesterday.
Okay, so where does he rank for you now?
He's number 4. I had him at number 5. I had Derek Carr at number 4, and I moved him up. And again, this is always a fluid situation when you're evaluating talent. We're still 7 weeks away, I guess, from the official NFL draft. And now, here's the disappointing thing for me. I base my evaluations on tape. And I talk to a lot of people, but I would actually love to sit in some of those meetings that I'm not privileged to look someone in the eye and ask them the football questions. Yeah. Now, what we saw yesterday is going to be totally different than what Johnny Manziel is now going to go through in these individual meetings. He may walk into the room. Now, remember this. He's lost control now. Johnny Manziel doesn't control what happens from here on out. Yesterday's workout was customized, scripted for Johnny Manziel. He may walk into the room of the Minnesota Vikings, just as an example, and they may tell him to sit down. And he might sit there for an hour. He might sit there for 2 hours before they recognize him. They're going to play all these games with him. How does he react when he doesn't have the center stage, when he doesn't have control? That was his show yesterday. It's no longer his show.
By the way, the Vikings had a session with him after that workout. So maybe that happened. I don't know.
Maybe it happened. And I'm sure they'll do an individual workout with him, like the teams that are in a quarterback need. But really, there aren't that many. We say quarterback needs. There aren't that many teams that really need a quarterback. There really aren't. Okay. There really aren't that many.
Stephen A., your take on Jaws.
Jaws, great to see you as always. I got to say this. Here's my reaction to what you're saying. I have no doubt that you're accurate about what mind games certain teams may try to play with him. But I guess what I'm wondering about is it possible that other teams will elect to capitalize on the old school, dare I say, archaic mentality of some of these dudes in the NFL who believe in trying to dictate how one conducts themselves, how one approaches their responsibilities, et cetera, as opposed to just flowing with it and recognizing that the person that's sitting before you or standing before you that has that it factor, that marches to his own beat, that may be when he's at his best. What you're saying to me sounds as if it's something that's universal, when I think there are coaches out there that would sit there and say, well, I can adapt to this dude if he's going to give me the results that I need. What do you say to that? Because it was alarming to me when you talk about how somebody might sit him in a room and just have him sit there for 2 hours and don't say anything to him just to show him that he doesn't have control and all of this other stuff. I'm alarmed by that.
Oh, well, that will happen. Stephen, that will happen. The mind games will be played when he goes to these individual workouts. They've happened already. I know the stories. I've been at these other workouts where I've spoken to coaches and general managers and personnel directors, the things that they want to do to get in the head of not only a Johnny Manziel, but all the other quarterbacks, or that they've not only would take in this draft, but historically they would look at. And unfortunately, that is the way it is. Football is the consummate team game. And you hear that from every coach, every organization. It's the consummate team game. And the NFL, to a certain degree, frowns upon those individuals that act alone. And Johnny Manziel is a little bit different than the norm. And that's not the kind of lens or prism that NFL teams want their quarterback to be looked at.
So, bottom line from yesterday, I was stunned that Todd McShay concluded after that workout that of all the quarterbacks he has studied, and you've studied most, if not all, right?
Yeah.
Of the draftable quarterbacks, Todd concluded Johnny Manziel has the strongest arm, the quickest release, and throws the most accurate deep ball. And even I would not go quite that far. And yet that's what Todd said. Would you agree, disagree?
He's been to all three workouts, and I certainly do respect his opinion. I wasn't at Johnny Manziel's workout where I could see the ball explode off his hand. And we had cameras on him here at ESPN. I saw all the tape on him. It did seem to come off his hand. He does have the quickest release. That, to me, that is the given. He gets the ball out of his hand. Arm strength, I think Bortles will probably be in there pretty close. Now, Mettenberger gets his workout on April 9th. This is a big, strong, strapping guy out of the mode of a Joe Flacco, actually being coached by Scott Bruner right now, who coached Joe Flacco when he came out of Delaware. So, that, to me, that's my wild card in this draft, by the way, when I look at Mettenberger down at LSU, because he had the knee injury. And if he has a great workout, he could throw the whole quarterback situation in this draft, out of whack, per se. So that'll be interesting. But as far as the deep ball, I thought Johnny threw a tremendous deep ball. Good arc. The seam routes were great. There really wasn't a flaw to his game. I thought maybe on a couple throws he dropped his elbow just a little bit. One corner out, the ball hung. The one dig route sailed a little bit. But other than that, you throw 64 throws. I thought he had a tremendous pro day.